Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today we will discuss John Milton's Paradise Lost, Book 11. Paradise Lost, Book 11, published in 1667. John Milton, 1608-1674. Book 11 marks a crucial transition from the immediate aftermath of the fall to the long journey of humanity through history. It begins with Adam and Eve praying together in deep remorse, demonstrating the sincerity of their repentance. Their prayer is heartfelt, not just seeking forgiveness, but expressing profound self-awareness and accountability. This act of contrition moves God, who hears their plea with mercy. However, justice must still be served. Paradise is lost, and they must now face a life of toil, suffering, and eventual death. In response, God sends the archangel Michael to expel them from Eden, but also to reveal to Adam a vision of the future. A gesture of divine grace that offers understanding and a glimpse of redemption. Michael descends to earth, accompanied by other angels, to enforce God's command. He finds Adam in a state of sorrow, but not rebellion. Adam greets him with reverence, and Michael gently prepares him for the transition. He does not come merely as an agent of punishment, but as a teacher and a guide. He puts Adam into a trance and begins to unfold before his eyes a panoramic vision of the future of mankind. This vision, spread across Book 11 and 12, will be Adam's final lesson in Eden, a view of what humanity will become, both in sin and in hope. The first part of the vision focuses on the immediate consequences of the fall. Violence, envy, and death enter the world. Adam sees Cain's murder of his brother Abel, the first act of human bloodshed. He watches with horror as human society begins to degrade. The simplicity and purity of life before the fall are replaced by cities, pride, war, and social corruption. He sees generations of humans turning further away from divine will, an image of moral decay that distresses him deeply. Michael explains that this is the price of disobedience, but assures him that not all is lost. In contrast to this growing darkness, Michael also reveals righteous figures such as Enoch, who walks with God and is taken to heaven without tasting death. Through this, Adam begins to see that salvation is possible for those who remain faithful. The vision continues with a preview of Noah and the flood, which will cleanse the earth of corruption. Adam understands that though sin spreads quickly, God's justice and mercy remain active in history. These episodes serve to remind him that human life, though burdened, is also ennobled by the struggle for righteousness. Meanwhile, Eve is not given the vision, but Michael assures Adam that he should instruct her, for the knowledge he receives must be shared. Eve, intuitively aware of her role, dreams of comfort and renewal. Her submission to Adam's leadership in this context is portrayed not as subjugation, but as mutual trust and harmony, a glimpse of the way forward in the fallen world. By the end of Book 11, the full emotional weight of exile begins to settle. Eden, once a place of divine intimacy and perfection, is now closed to them. But Milton makes it clear that paradise is not truly lost if one seeks God through obedience, humility, and a spiritual vision. The human journey is no longer about a return to Eden, but about moving forward with purpose, armed with memory, wisdom, and the promise of redemption. Now let's analyze the themes and critical observations of Paradise Lost, Book 11. Exile and a Divine Compassion. Book 11 begins with a God announcing Adam and Eve's expulsion from paradise, a necessary act of justice. Yet the tone is not of wrath alone, it is balanced with a divine compassion, as God sends Michael to prepare them spiritually for life outside Eden. Visionary Education. The central structure of Book 11 is Michael's prophetic vision shown to Adam, outlining future human history. This visionary mode serves as a didactic tool, replacing lost innocence with knowledge grounded in experience, sorrow, and hope. The pain of human history. Adam witnesses the devastating effects of sin. Murder, that is Cain and Abel, war, pride, lust, and a societal decay. Milton uses this to depict the moral deterioration of humankind, stressing how far human will stray from their original state of grace. Death and immortality. For the first time, Adam is shown the reality of death, deepening his understanding of the consequences of the fall. Death is no longer abstract, it becomes emotional, terrifying, and inevitable. Sorrow as the root of wisdom. The visions are painful, but through them, Adam grows in spiritual maturity. He begins to grasp that true knowledge lies in humility, obedience, and a trust in providence. Divine providence and hope. Despite the bleak future, Michael reveals glimpses of righteous individuals like Enoch and Noah, suggesting that not all is lost. God's grace and a redemptive plan are already at work. Tone and a transition. Book 11 marks a thematic shift. It is from personal sin to collective history and from punishment to preparation for redemption. Now let's analyze the main quotes from Paradise Lost, Book 11. First one. They, looking back, all the eastern side beheld of paradise, so late their happy seat, waved over by that flaming brand. This line describes Adam and Eve's final glance at Eden as they prepare to leave. The image of the flaming sword symbolizes divine justice and the irreversible loss of innocence. Their looking back evokes a sense of grief, nostalgia, and an awareness of the paradise they can never return to. The next quote. Some natural tears they drooped, but wiped them soon. The world was all before them, where to choose their place of rest and providence their guide. These final lines of the book and a poem capture the sorrow and courage of the human condition. Though they weep, Adam and Eve accept their fate and move forward with a faith in divine guidance. Milton closes the epic not in despair, but with hope and resolve, emphasizing human freedom and responsibility. The next quote. Hast thou not heard from the beginning that we came from heaven? Michael reminds Adam of his divine origin, reinforcing the idea that humanity, despite its fall, still retains a heavenly spark. This quote connects Adam's past with his future and urges him not to forget his noble beginnings. It prepares him for the visions to come. The next quote. So spake the Archangel Michael, then paused as at the world's great period. This solemn moment suggests a shift in cosmic time, a pause before the revelation of all human history. Michael acts not only as a messenger, but as a figure of cosmic authority, linking Adam's personal story to the destiny of mankind. The great period here implies a moment of divine reckoning. The next quote. Immediately a place before his eyes appeared, sad, noisome, dark. This line introduces Adam's vision of fallen human society, beginning with the world post-Eden. The adjectives sad, noisome, dark conveys the moral and physical decay that enters the human world. Milton paints a bleak landscape to emphasize the depth of sin's effects. Now the next quote. Firstborn of Eve and first of death, Cain. This succinct and powerful line identifies Cain as both the first child born and a first murderer. His act introduces death into the human story, not by natural causes, but through violence and envy. Milton uses Cain to show how quickly sin escalates within human nature. The next quote. A world devoted to universal wrath. Here Adam sees a vision of the entire world suffering under sin and chaos. Universal wrath here suggests not only physical torment, but a spiritual and moral confusion. It underscores the far-reaching consequences of the fall on the entire human race. The next quote. Now was I at the point to pass through life into eternity. Adam briefly contemplates death as an escape from the overwhelming grief he feels. The line marks a turning point in his emotional state from despair to potential surrender. However, this thought soon gives way to renewed understanding and spiritual strength. The next quote. Nor love thy life, nor hate, but what thou lovest, live well, how long or short permit to heaven. Michael advises Adam to live a virtuous life without clinging desperately to life or fearing death. This balanced Stoic Christian view embodies Milton's ideal of moral endurance and obedience. Life's value lies not in its length, but in its righteousness. Now the next quote. Only add deeds to thy knowledge answerable, add faith, add virtue, patience, temperance. Michael instructs Adam on how to translate wisdom into action. Knowledge alone is insufficient. Virtue must be practiced through deeds. This quote offers a concise moral philosophy that underpins Milton's Christian humanism. Now the next quote. Be strong, live happy and love, but first of all, him whom to love is to obey and keep his great command. This line emphasizes the hierarchy of love. Human love is important, but a love for God must come first. Milton presents obedience not as a restriction, but as the foundation of joy and strength. It reflects the ideal Christian life after the fall. Now the next quote. Henceforth I learn that to obey is best, and love with fear the only God. Adam acknowledges the lesson taught through both suffering and revelation. This is a moment of clarity and growth where obedience is seen not as mere submission but as the path to divine harmony. Milton affirms that wisdom comes through experience. Now the next quote. High matter thou enjoys me, O prime of man. Michael addresses Adam with a dignity and a gravity, calling him prime of men. It reflects both Adam's special role in creation and the responsibility now laid upon him to carry knowledge forward. This tone affirms Adam's ongoing worth and leadership even in exile. The next quote. This yet I apprehended not, why to those among whom God will design to dwell on earth so many and so various laws are given. Adam questions why God's chosen people must live by so many laws, reflecting a tension between faith and legalism. This shows Milton's awareness of theological debates and foreshadows the complexities of post-lapsarian religion. It also reflects Adam's intellectual curiosity and his role as a learner. The next quote. This having learned, thou hast attained the sum of wisdom. Michael closes his instruction by affirming that true wisdom lies in obedience, humility, and a right action. The sum of wisdom is not hidden knowledge, but a living in alignment with the divine will. Milton redefines wisdom as spiritual insight, not intellectual mastery.